Jerry, whew, Jamie.
Man.
This one, all our interviews are incredible. Let's not get that wrong. But this interview right here is from somebody that I look up to a lot of people in the industry, and look up to a lot of dads, fathers, black fathers. And this is one of the guys that I've watched through the industry, and we talked about it off air. We're going to talk about it on air. But I'm going to say this before I introduce. First of all, I'm Jerry Clark, Legendary Jerry. Storytime with Legendary Jerry this week episode. This is my co-host, Miss Jamie Page. And this young man right here, let me tell y'all something. We sat out in Miami during one of the conventions. I believe it was the Radio 1 Music Fest convention, whatever it was. And Jamie, I just told him this off air, and I want to say it on air, is that one thing that really impressed me that I didn't know, of course I knew who he was. I had seen him around the years in the building, in the Sony building. I was so taken aback by his knowledge of the music industry, the ins and outs. Like it fucked me up. I was like, oh, okay. He's not just the dad or the manager dad, and he really knows the game. And we sat there, we might have had some adult beverages. I don't know about him, but I know I did. And I just remember sitting there, listening and talking to him and soaking it up. And I just really had a different respect for him when I was able to experience that. And ladies and gentlemen, before I'm going to cut it right there because we're going to get straight into all this shit. But I want to introduce y'all this week's episode of Storytime with Legendary Jerry. Is Myth.
The one and only. The one and only. Look,
said, hey, I'm all app this shit. I can't even get it out.
You're tongue-tied already.
Mr. Matthew Knowles. What's up, good brother? How are you?
Yeah, it's so good. I didn't know Jerry, and then I see Jerry, and I've seen this brother for years. In the music industry, in the Sony building especially.
Yes.
And I'm sure we're going to talk about
yes.
that.
When CeCe McClendon, I worked a lot of projects, and I remember, like we said, I remember coming in, because you, per se, you wasn't the president of Sony or Columbia, but you had a lot of juice.
Well,
you had a lot of juice.
I had that big ass office on the 24th floor. People actually thought that I worked there. I never forget. It was a label lunch. I used to actually conduct the label lunches because I had Life Jennings and all the girls and ladies and Destiny's Child and Tiffany Evans and a couple of more artists I had. And so I yelled at my video promotions person. I mean, I went off. I go off.
Not you.
You gave me some.
Not you.
You gave me some bullshit in the labor lunch. Afterwards, I got a call from the president of Columbia like 2 or 3 days later. He says, human resources. There's a complaint. I was like, what the fuck you talking about? I don't work here.
Yeah, I don't answer to y'all.
Yeah. So I had great times at Columbia. We'll talk about it.
Yeah. So, but let me say this from and I mentioned this in the opening, from a father standpoint. I look at individuals like yourself and Richard Williams, Venus and Serena Daddy, and I personally feel that you all aren't given enough props or accolades as to the things that you help create for your family, and how you whether it was you, your ex-wife, or whoever, building a legacy, man. What came out of the household, like I say, Richard Williams with Venus and Serena, yourself with your daughters, and I appreciate it because I think the individual, like, y'all don't get enough props. Like y'all don't get a lot of. I mean, I look at both of your daughters, and for them, as conscious as they are, man. Like I think, and Solange, I think she's so underrated in a lot of ways, like musically and everything. I mean, when you got a bigger sister that's as big per se as her sister, but just from a conscious standpoint, to see both of them, I know that's got to make you proud as a father.
Well, it makes you very proud. Is he gonna introduce you, Jamie?
I did. Don't try to. Mr. Knowles, don't try to start no shit on air. You see how you didn't hear me say earlier? Okay, let me get, ladies and gentlemen, I'm Legendary Jerry. This is my co-host, the beautiful Mr. You see,
See, you about to mess it up too.
The beautiful Miss Jamie Page.
That, thank you.
You see that? But he looking out for you.
Yeah. But no, I am proud. And there's other fathers. Michael Jordan's dad.
Yeah.
Played a very pivotal role in his basketball career. You know, this kid didn't make the 10th grade basketball team.
Yeah.
The greatest player of all, but his daddy worked with him. And then the golfer, Tiger Woods.
Eldred Woods Sr. Exactly.
You know, played a critical role in his golf
Mm-hmm.
game. Was with him, you know, 4 or 5 years old is when he started. And by the way, all of these people that are great started when they were kids.
Mm-hmm.
You can't be the very best at this and decide at 25 you want to be in the music industry. Nothing turns me off because I know that's not going to happen. You can be good at it, but you can't compete with someone who's done it over 10,000 times.
You damn right.
You know, and by the way, Outliers is one of the books
My
that
favorite books.
I
One
love.
of my favorite
By
books.
Malcolm Gladwell.
Yep. He's got a few Malcolm McGladwell.
Yeah,
has a
Canadian
few
brothers, and he talk about, you know, you got to do stuff 10,000 times to be an expert and be great at it. You can be good at something, but I'm not interested in goodness. I'm interested in greatness.
Speaking of 10,000 times, at what point did you know, you mentioned before, once again, I'll say, because we had a great conversation off camera, so I'm going to bring in some things we said. From you being an executive and going to flight school, or pilot school, I should say, at what point did you say, okay, when I got a talented daughter, we talking about going into the music industry, when did you say, all right, you know what, I'm going to sacrifice everything I got, everything, and I'm going to bet the house on this, and we go put this thing together, and we go mash.
Literally, I did bet the house. Seriously. But, you know, you made me think, Jerry. I took, I think 3 flight lessons. I couldn't afford it back then. It was very expensive. But, you know, Beyonce and Solange, this was their passion. I think parents, our role is to understand our kids at an early age. What is it that you love doing? And then as parents, we surround them with all the tools that they need. So I used to say, if Beyonce and Solange wanted to be doctors, I have this entrepreneurial spirit. So I would have said, okay, go get your license, become a doctor, go to med school, and I will buy a hospital.
Wow.
Which is the same thing I said to my former wife.
That's the ultimate.
She was a house, wife.
Sacrifice.
And then I said, what are you passionate about? And she said, I like to do hair and creative, styling. I said, okay, go to school and we'll open a hair salon. Because I'm an entrepreneur.
And that's what y'all did.
And that's what we did. The first $1 million that we made was 1984. Now, for those of you that think
so you been
that we have to
depend on
we have to depend on Beyonce. I think she was 3 years old.
Yeah, whatever it was, she was a baby.
Yeah,
but and that's what and that tends to be what people think, like, oh, it took for Mr. Knowles to make that Beyonce money. But you talking about 1984? You been was making paper.
Well, you got to remember, I was 3 out of 4 years, and I say this with gratitude. I was 3 out of 4 years the #1 sales rep in the whole world in the medical division of Xerox. We made our first $1 million in '84. I made my first 100,000 in 1979.
And that was off the sales,
Yeah.
off medical sales.
Yeah, I was a
So
sales.
like you said, you've always had that entrepreneur hustler spirit.
Yeah.
We're gonna make it go. So it just really just helped water that whole passion that you had with them when you was like, okay, I see talent.
Yeah.
I see a talent.
Well, you talked about Solange, and she is
she's very underrated.
Well, this
she's
is
very
what
dope.
this is what really bothers me. So if you took Beyonce out of the equation, Solange would represent the top 5% of all folks in music as artists. Take Beyonce out and set her aside, just like you set Michael Jackson aside.
Mm-hmm.
Now let's just look at the music industry. Because you got to remember, out of the 37,000 albums that major record labels put out, 1% make a profit. That's 370.
Right.
And that's why, when people want to have, people don't realize this is my 10th year as a professor. I'm a professor. I teach
it's
Texas Southern. I
Yeah.
teach this. I went back and got my MBA and my PhD.
So should I call you Dr. Knowles?
Well, I have a PhD.
Okay,
in,
so
in academia.
good doctor.
I am Dr. Knowles.
Yes. Congratulations, bro. I know
Thank
you say you've had it for 10 years, but congrats.
No, I just got my PhD about
And
5
these
years
And it's
things-
named after you though as well, isn't it? Called the Matthew Knowles Institute, or is what?
Well, I have an institute that's
Okay, so
called
that's-
the Matthew Knowles Institute at Texas Southern, and then
Okay.
we have the Knowles Institute. So
And what is the whole premise behind the Matthew Knowles?
it's online e-learning. I believe the same thing that happened to us in music will happen to us in education. As this digital world, you remember this when the CD,
When physical
Cassette,
sales,
the
physical
cassette
sales.
went to
CD,
the CD, and then we came with this thing. We're
The
gonna do the
streaming.
dual CD, remember? And we thought that was gonna keep people from some piracy, and
Yeah.
somebody took a magic marker and bypassed all of that. And then when we were warned about streaming, we put our noses up and said that'll never happen. When Apple came, we put our noses up and said nobody will ever buy a single, but people start buying
Yeah.
singles.
Mhm.
And I think that's what will happen to education. People will start buying singles and they'll start streaming. They won't want to go in a
Well, yeah,
classroom. But going back to Solange, because I do want to spend some time on that.
And I want you to, because like I said, I'm gonna say it again. I think musically she's very, very dope. And what I love about her as well is her conscious. She's not afraid to speak out on different things that she really is passionate about. And
the
I
key
know,
word is passion.
right?
And
And
her
I know
artistic view as
Yeah,
well. I
it's-
mean,
it's-
like
it's
she,
not-
I think
she
she's,
doesn't-
I think
she
she's
doesn't
above,
just
above
follow
our time.
the straight line. And I
Yeah.
have 3 children as well, 2 daughters, and my son is the youngest. And I want them, I want them to have their own identity. And
Well, that's the key word right there, identity. We made a mistake, and I play into that. Solange Beyonce got her record deal at 15.
mhm.
Solange got her major record deal, both with Columbia, at 14.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, we won, and we never told their ages. I mean, that was my strategy.
But so
They were-
technically, she had been signed in. I didn't
This
know.
is her. She signed with Columbia and did Soul Angel was her first album.
Mhm.
Then all of these were joint ventures with Music World.
Of course.
And then we took her to Interscope. Jimmy Iovine, the smartest man in music. And we did the first album over there, Hatley Street Dreams, which debuted number. So, but what people don't realize is Solange's penmanship. Kelly's first album, she wrote 50% of it.
Wow.
Kelly's first album has sold over, and this is my challenge with
It
Wendy
definitely went
Williams.
platinum, right?
But outside of America, see, there was a strategy. Kelly didn't want to follow the script, and the script was, Kelly, you're that international pop girl. America don't write it off. Most people forget we're the
All
third.
they think is domestically
We're the
right here in
third
the States.
consumption of music. Third. Number 1 is Japan. Number 2 is UK.
Yep.
Then come USA. But people love
So
Kelly.
you tried to put that in her mind like early, like, look, Kelly, this is the plan.
Well,
We're going to go
we
over
had
there
a
and then
plan.
come back.
The plan was, and it was my plan. The plan was, and of course the ladies had to buy into it. The plan was, after the 4th Destiny's Child album, we would build the audience, and then
And
each one would
everybody
do a
break
solo.
up. Okay,
Beyonce
so this
would
was
do-
this was already in place. You had already planted that
Yeah,
solo seed.
we never instill today. When I do something, it's all of it we've written the next 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe in one of the things in my first book, DNA of Achievers, is planning, and failure to plan is planning to fail. So
Yeah, right.
we have a strategy and strategic, and so this was all strategy. Michelle, that's how
So it wasn't because the first thing people say, it's a girl group. They hated. They was beefing. It went regardless. It was already set that they would once it, like you say, whether it was at the 3rd album, 4th album, that they was go all
the group
go.
has had over 25 members.
Hold
See,
on.
Well,
Hold on.
Wow.
Mr. No, Dr.
I'm
Knowles.
only aware
Mr.
of
Knowles,
like
Dr.
4 or
Knowles.
5.
whichever.
So 25 minutes.
Y'all went through
So are we
25
going back?
people.
When you say 25 people, you're going back to the beginning stages when you first put the group in place, or
Well,
you?
I did not put the group the first in place. I got involved when they lost on Star Search.
Okay.
But the groups have evolved from Girls' Time, which was
Right.
about 18 members.
Hmm.
It was a revolving door.
But when they became Destiny's Child,
Then
once
there
you
was a
placed
change,
your hands
But
on
you know, it went from Girls Time to the Dolls with Daryl Simmons.
Mm-hmm.
They got signed to Electra, got dropped.
Mm-hmm.
Then it became Cliche. Then it became Something Fresh. Then it became Destiny, which is their first
Right.
record with Men in Black.
Yeah.
Then it became Destiny's Child. My next book is The Emancipation of Slaves Through Music.
Oh, wow.
And then my book after that is Destiny's Child, The Untold Story. Because
Hmm.
nobody knows the real story but me.
Yeah.
And we getting some shit that don't nobody know right now
Yeah,
on the list
yeah.
on Storytime Legendary Jerry.
But I do want to finish up on Solange.
Okay.
I want to go back to that again because so we did. I decided was the first single. Then Sandcastle Disco was the second single. But that first album on Columbia, we tried to make Solange pop, and that wasn't her.
Hmm.
Yeah.
But she was 14, and what people don't realize is when you're spending millions of dollars, unfortunately, when you're that young, you don't make decisions. Sometimes I hear this stuff
Yeah.
talking about, the first Destiny. Man, nobody's letting any member of Destiny's Child make multi-million-dollar decisions in the beginning.
Right.
Too young.
When they're teenagers,
Yeah.
that just doesn't happen. Somebody's got to be driving that. Now, from an artistic perspective, yes. So Solange, she didn't want to. I said in a meeting with Jimmy Iovine, Solange said, "I don't want to go to my second album.
Hmm.
I want to be independent. I don't want to be on a major record
So
label."
it's like, release me, let me go.
Yeah, and so that album's on Music World today. I bought their 50% out, so that's a catalog of mine. And then she did her first album on her own and was finding herself. I admire Solange.
Did you have your hand out to cut you off? How much involved creatively were you with that?
her third album, Zero.
Well, we're gonna get to everything they can.
Her third album, Zero. Her current album, Zero.
So you just say, hey, go ahead, baby girl, go ahead.
Well, I hope they all, both, then Kelly and Michelle, I actually text Michelle today. I hope they all have learned, like I learned from my parents. My family come from entrepreneurs. Hopefully they learn how to be an entrepreneur. But what I admire most about Solange is that she did it her way. And she chose and dared to be different. And she went just the opposite of Beyonce. And I tell you, man,
She
I've
sure
seen
did.
both of their shows, and it's hard for me to decide
Oh,
who has the best show.
No, let me tell you.
I'm just
Solange,
telling you.
her stage show, she's
I'm-
got.
I'm-
That's why I'm
I'm
like,
just
what?
I mean, but this new show
I'm
now,
like, what
they
are you
just-
feeding them? What was you feeding in the crib?
Right.
I'm just
I mean,
saying,
you
I've
got.
seen both of their shows. They're totally
And they're
opposite.
totally opposite.
But they, I can't say which one is best.
And the fact though that Solange like incorporated now like with her shows like the modern dancing and going into like Martha Graham and Alvin Ailey, like it's phenomenal. It's just so artistic and like you said, it's like such a different spectrum from
Sure
Beyonce.
is.
yeah, and
So-
it's art.
Yeah.
It's art. So and unquestionably, Beyonce gives you the biggest show on earth.
Ooh.
Yeah.
From a different and the audience. I've actually I do one of the things I give back is there's a Black College Expo. I've gone to Houston, keynote. I did L.A. and I did Baltimore. And I actually go on stage. Here's about 1,000 black kids, and I actually start chanting. If you're a Beyonce fan, scream. If you're a Solange fan, scream. And you'd be surprised.
I know
How the outcome of that with these younger kids is. So I just say that only because also when I was on Wendy's show last week, there's been about 25 articles written about me on that show. I said 30 seconds of when I saw Solange.
The elevator.
What's got me is
and that's the clip that they're gonna take. And
irresponsibility.
that's the word.
That I'm talking about racism, and the most important thing the press can say
Is Jay-Z,
that
Beyonce, and
because
Solange in
they
the
look at black people and especially black males as buffooneries.
It's exactly
We
what
can't be smart and intelligent. Only white.
that comes
always-
from, Mr. Knowles.
Well, I mean, I think it's
because the paint. Hold on, Jamie. I'm not to cut you off, but to be painted as a like, no matter what, I'm just at that.
Well,
just,
I understand the game. That's
exactly what it is.
that's
A
Jerry.
fucking game, and it's not.
Well, that's why I understand it, because I understand audience equals sales, and I understand that. See, radio was never designed. It's not about music; it's about advertisers.
Mm-hmm.
Music is just the content that draws the advertisers. So for me to have a large audience, I have to have great songs. But at the end of the day, what radio is about is selling advertising. The same with TV. TV is about advertising. The content,
Damn right.
Yeah.
the
Damn
content
right.
is
That's where the money
what
is
draws
being
the
exchanged.
advertiser. Trust me, you pick any of these shows, and if their audience start falling and dropping, and when the audience starts dropping, she doesn't have a job anymore. It's as simple as that. So the producers are daily looking for, and then Beyonce is such a search engine optimization.
Oh,
Yeah.
Come on, man.
See, I can come intellectual about
Yeah.
it. That's why
And
I
they
don't
not-
get.
and
That's
they
why I
not
don't
used to
get.
that shit.
I don't get upset because I'm coming intellectual about it.
Yeah.
I understand search engine optimization. I understand why articles say Beyonce. It used to be Beyonce's dad. At least they gave him respect now. Beyonce's dad, Matthew Knowles. 75% still can't spell Matthew. Like,
Ain't that some shit?
I have one T in Matthew, not two, but I understand that. So from that perspective, I don't get upset. I know that the media's trying to sell something. I'm trying to sell something. So we play on each other.
Yeah. What But was there
That
anything?
whole thing
Yeah,
about
it's-
something 4 years ago, man. Like, who cares?
It's
Yeah, but I mean, of course, look at her audience, and that's what, like you said, it's about the sales and keeping her job,
Yeah.
so.
You know why I'm okay with it in a way? Is because if it meant that finally we could talk about Solange, then that made me happy.
Yeah.
Because I just
If you're
think,
gonna use it as
going
any
back to
platform, you might as
Solange
well turn
being
it into a
so,
positive.
so underrated, man.
Yeah.
She's incredible.
Yeah.
And speaking, we going back to Solange and also Beyonce, growing up in that house, what type things, or were there anything that you and Miss Tina did to really cultivate and breed creativity? Like,
That was
were
very
there any-
respectful of you to say, Miss Tina. I appreciate that. Because I never look at Tina as an ex-wife. I never will. She's the mother of my two beautiful daughters. I have incredible respect. Tina's my best friend. And if anybody says something bad about him, I'm going to fuck him up.
You gonna slap the shit. You gonna slap whether
I know
she
that's
remarried or
right.
not.
I
You
know
gonna
that's
slap.
right.
You gonna slap the shit out of him.
Well,
But y'all
I ain't
had-
no slap him. I come from the music industry.
You know what?
Hey, we make that call.
Wait,
Make,
trust
make
me.
that call.
I've been in the industry
We talked about. Hey, we know.
over 25 years. I've been in the
Hey,
industry
you know where the
30
goons.
years.
You know the goons.
Well, no, I ain't
Well, I know.
talk
I'm
like
just
that.
saying. Hey, we,
No,
look, let's
no,
look.
we
look,
don't talk
back to
like
the
that,
back to
Jerry.
the question at hand. I tried to say
Look,
like
yeah,
that.
you trying to start there.
Take it down, Jerry.
Pipe down.
Take
Pipe
it
down.
down.
Okay, all right. I'm sorry. I apologize.
Right.
But what type of thing? There. I mean, did you all have? I mean, were there talent shows going on in the house? I know there were things.
All the times, all the time. But again, this were, and it wasn't my thing. I mean, I was a dad. We had a hair salon, and Tina was working on the weekends, and I was the dad that, they wanted to go to dance, and they wanted to, they love creative stuff, art, all of that. They were just very highly creative kids.
So was that it? We want to sing and dance, and
Yeah,
there was
so
nothing else like
When did you know?
I'm kind of
When did
into.
you know it was special though? It had to be that one
Yeah,
time when you sat back and you
It's a real
said,
simple thing. I give seminars all over the world. I do speeches all over the world. Go to MathewKnowles.com. I'll come and keynote
one
for
T.
you. With one T. This is what I tell parents. How do you know if your kids aren't passionate about it? The day you have to tell them go to practice. Because if they're passionate about it, they're going to be like, Mama, Daddy, I got
Do I have to
practice.
go?
I got practice at 10 o'clock. Don't forget, I can't be late.
Right.
But if I got to tell you got practice,
Yeah.
then you're not passionate about it.
as much as both of your daughters are, like we say, are fucking incredible, there had to be, and I'm gonna say it again, Dr. Knowles, when you said, whether it was your living room, garage, back in Houston, and you said whether it was just Beyonce, whether it was her and her crew, or whoever that, you said 28 members, one of them 28 members, well, you said, okay, they fucking got it. It had to be that one moment. Do you remember that one moment when you said, this shit, because like you just went through the names, but you went through about 5 names.
Yeah, you know, it's amazing as you were saying that. I just remember something. When they were in the womb, I used to always sing Smokey Robinson, Saw You There.
Mm-hmm.
Saw you there.
Both of them.
And the laughter seems to clear the air. So I just remember that would calm them.
Now
So-
you're going to make everybody going to be singing that.
Everybody gotta be singing that to their kids. in the
What's the
womb.
song again you was singing? Now everybody about to be singing that shit, Mr. Knowles. Damn. So,
Shit.
but you still, that is.
Sing Survivor, I co-wrote that. You know I'm actually,
Whoa.
You know,
Whoa.
did
Hold
you-
on, no, hold on.
Destiny's Child Survivor.
Yeah.
You co-wrote that?
you don't read the credits?
I mean, shit, my bad.
Damn.
I can't read it. I can't read all every day. I've been in the game.
Wait a
I've been
minute,
in the
Jerry! You don't read the damn credits? You're in the industry.
Who you co-wrote it with?
Wait.
Who did you co-write the song
With
with?
Beyonce?
Yeah, Beyonce.
Beyonce wrote that?
With,
See,
yeah.
I'm fucking with that.
And
I'm talking shit.
a kid that you never heard of again that's from Atlanta that did the track.
Who?
What's that boy's name? Not Shakespeare.
Yeah,
Somebody
Shakespeare.
else. Somebody look that up. He's from right here. Because what we used to do is producers.
How many other songs did you write
Wait,
with
let me
Beyonce?
show
Okay,
you.
go ahead.
They would send the tracks. They never even went in the studio with the girls.
Yeah, just send the track, y'all.
And then we
write to
do the
them.
rest and
Yeah.
mix and master it. And this young man has gotten millions of dollars. I mean, we just did
Just
a
off that
deal
one
with
song.
we got $600,000 of publishing on Survivor.
Wow.
But I'm gonna go a step further, Jerry. I'm a survivor. Then it goes, what? Then somebody goes, so that's me going, what? And that's me going,
So
I
you was
say you're on the track,
you was all in the studio.
Oh, wow.
What? Stop, what?
Damn.
So there's
Wow.
a lot people don't know, but they'll
They just
get
see,
it.
oh, he the daddy manager, he all in it.
Nah.
But you was doing it. I mean,
all
you
of the
was involved.
mixing
You
and
was all,
mastering.
that was you.
I was involved with that. Of course, I didn't mix, but I was the one in the studio at 1 o'clock in the morning,
That word
working-
sacrifice.
working
that was your
with
sacrifice.
our mixer, mixing those songs. You know, that was me doing that.
And did you keep
The
when
girls
you,
were
when you
too
were
young.
when
They
you were
hadn't
rocking and
gotten
rolling?
involved with that
Yeah.
yet, because you know, I just wanted them to focus, and I say this to anybody that want to be in the music industry. First, focus on being a good artist.
Mhm.
Then focus on being a songwriter. Then focus on all of the mixing and all of that aspect of the post. Then talk about a clothing line. Because once you become a great artist,
Thank you. I'm glad you said that, man. I'm
I'm
glad you broke it
And by
down.
the way, how
Oh,
do you
excuse
know
me.
that you are just totally wrong when you give somebody a business card and it says CEO on it?
Ain't that the
Then you got
corniest shit ever?
One fucking employee, that's you.
This shit is corny, ain't it?
That's the worst thing you can give somebody that's really in the industry.
So it's safe-
is
so-
a card that says
CEO.
CEO.
So it's safe to know, so it's safe to assume that Beyonce and Solange learned all their skills from you because you were
Not all.
Yeah, I was gonna-
I'm never going to say all. No,
You're not.
I'm not. I've never been that kind of arrogance or stuff. I've always been low key, but if I don't tell my story, it's going to be his story,
right.
and I'll be damned if my story is going to be his story. This is going to go down what really happened. Some people are getting too much damn credit for what they didn't do, and I'm just not going to allow that to happen.
Yeah,
So I'm speaking out on what my role was with all of this.
yeah.
Yeah.
With
Thank
a lot
you.
of artists.
Thank
Not-
you for doing it.
not-
Thank you for
not
coming
just-
on Storytime with
not-
Legendary
yeah,
Jerry
not
just-
and telling this story.
You know, it makes
Have you experienced a lot of racism in the music industry?
Yeah, I talk about it in my book. I have a
Okay.
whole chapter.
I was gonna say that was
a
we're
whole
gonna talk
chapter.
about it.
When I got in the industry, in the 90s, you had the black the
Black-
music department, the urban division. And, you know, I used to say at Columbia, I'm tired of hearing urban and pop. Let's just say what it is,
Music.
white and black.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
exactly what it is. Just like we had urban radio and rhythmic radio.
Yeah.
Rhythmic plays most of the same songs as urban, but guess what? Most of their jocks are white.
Yeah.
But they're playing. If you look at the rhythmic charts and look at the hottest records, and you look at urban, it's mirror images.
Right.
But the jocks at rhythmic stations are white, and the jocks at urban stations are black. But you see the divide is always rhythmic, urban. But that's what I always wanted. Like, because, you know, I have my own stories about different things. Because you look at now the industry, you have urban departments, divisions, and labels that are run by non-blacks. But you don't have any country divisions or rock divisions run by black people.
Well, I own Compadre Records, which is part of my catalog. Billy Joe Shaver, Trent Willman. I have a country label with over 30 artists.
See, that's
Oh, wow.
I didn't even know
Compadre.
that.
Compadre Records.
You really
But then you
That-
gotta remember, I had
that
the #1 gospel label in America.
yeah. Now I knew that.
When I did joint venture with BET and had all of the Sunday Best winners. Leandra Johnson, only Grammy she's won. She was the #1 female gospel artist on Billboard. I mean, these are accolades, and that's what I kind of get tired. Not kind of, I don't kind
Yeah, I
of.
was gonna say.
I get tired of, you know, everything I do has got to be Beyonce and Destiny's Child. I've done way
more than
more. And again, I'm telling my story because his story is going to be totally different. His story is a white man's version. I'm not going to let that happen.
Do you and maybe you just answered this question. I know you said it kind of gets time, but have you ever you feel overshadowed by the fact that, like, not in a bad way, like my daughter, the fact that my daughter is the biggest artist.
No, I'm
Right.
I'm always proud of
I know,
that.
no. I know you're proud. I know as a parent, but
Yeah.
it overshadows, like you just said, a lot of your
A lot of
other
things
work
that
that
you do.
people don't know.
No.
All they think
No.
of when you hear Matthew Knowles is Destiny's Child, Beyonce, and Solange's
Well,
dad.
that's not true, because
But you've done so much other
because
stuff,
folks
though.
like yourself that have come from the music industry, I don't really care what John Wilson 17-year-olds think.
Mhm.
It's more important to me that my peers, you know, are truthful and respectful of what I've done, and most are. And so that means first the most to me. Secondly, my banker, how he feels about me is quite important.
You sound like from all the ventures you've had.
So-
I think you and your banker. I think y'all all right, Mr. No, Dr.
So
Knowles.
can you name for us some of the other artists that you have managed, or
Well,
just a few?
I don't consider myself a manager.
Well, you said you managed Life Jennings.
But I mean,
so-
I've managed as
Right.
one part
The
of
music
what
world
I've
is-
done. I've also produced. I'm an executive producer.
well, who are some of the artists? So maybe our audience, that
So
don't
let's-
know.
let's-
You're
let's-
telling your story.
Yeah,
Let's-
well, that's a good point. So at Sanctuary, I talked about Shaka Khan. The album is Classic Khan with the London Symphony. Shaka actually went over to London and did Standard Records. One day she went kicking and screaming. One day she's gonna when she gets older and go to Vegas and wants to sit
And they're
down
gonna
in
do
a
a
chair
residency.
and do all these standards in the audience full of white people.
Yep.
Right.
She's gonna appreciate that. Cool in the Game, their last album, Earth, Wind and Fire, Pure Gold. Before Maurice, I have a photo in my office of signing them actually
Maurice White.
when Maurice was still alive. De La Soul, I was telling you.
Yeah, we talked
Again,
about
these
that.
are not. This is from a record label perspective.
Right.
Gosh,
You gotta-
I'm trying to think of the white kid out of Canada. Actually, Destiny's Child did their first. Oh, I'm glad I thought about that because I keep forgetting.
So, like, and I'll go back to
There it
what I
is.
said at the beginning of your intro when I sat down with you in Miami. Just from what we're hearing and what his knowledge is way more. I mean,
But then let's talk about when I again, this is public information, but it's public trading, so anybody can look this up. I sold in 2002 Music World of Sanctuary. Sanctuary was the largest independent record label and management company in the world. I sold Music World for $10 million. I got a unpublished amount of stocks, which exceeded 10. I'll just leave it at that. And I became the president. We formed a division, Music World
Like
Sanctuary Urban. You know, again, this is all public information. Troy Carter and Julius Irving,
Dr. Jason.
the third, they had Eve and they had Floetry. And I bought their company for $1 million. They're the largest urban thing, entertainment in the world. Music World Sanctuary Urban. So that's where, you know, people kind of, it's as if I never did that. I had 100+ employees. I had an office in Houston, office in New York, office on Sunset in LA, office in London, and I had all these people reporting to me.
And these are things that people don't realize when they hear your name, that you so fucking accomplished in this game, bro.
Yeah,
People try to pigeonhole you just in this one little, you know, or not just one, but
in this family thing. And that's, people don't know. I want you to go and research. The first artist that I ever signed was not Destiny's Child. You know, people, that's a Jedi mind trick. Y'all got the Jedi mind. The first artist that I ever signed is Lil O.
Out of Houston?
Out of Houston.
Rapper.
His first single is Can't Stop, and it features Destiny. And Destiny is now, as you know, Destiny's Child. I signed Lil O to MCA Records when MC, from Puffy to
Andre
Jodeci
Harrell
to
Heavy D,
Mary
Bob
J.
MC.
I signed this kid to the biggest, greatest urban record
And
label.
people think you just came on with
Destiny's Child, with Columbia. That, you know, that Columbia wasn't noted for urban then. And then, you know, you were there. You might remember there, and when we talk about the racism in the music industry, there was a boy group that I had on my label and managed, because we kind of started this 360 thing. It was Signature. I don't know if you ever remember that white group on Columbia called Signature.
Sounds familiar.
It was 4 white boys.
R&B,
R&B.
Kind of like Color Me Bad type.
No, man, they were like Boys to Men.
Oh, they was real soulful.
Yeah, and they're the catalog. You can go to Signature.
Okay.
And it's spelled SY. So these guys, I came up, this is the first ever to be played on urban radio. And so on the single, I did a silhouette of them, because I knew the black programmers knew that
white
they were
dudes.
white, and they eventually did. The record got to 10, and they dropped them once they found out.
Wow.
Ain't that some shit?
But I can tell you this: their advance was larger, their marketing budget was larger,
Because
their video
because
budget
of them being white.
because they were white. Do you remember the girl group that sold millions on Columbia? A girl group out of Sweden. They would, people just don't know, man.
What with you mentioned
just don't
you
know.
mentioned you texting Michelle earlier, Michelle Kelly. Like, I know that's family. I mean, these girls, you've been in their lives both personally and professionally. How are those? How is the relationship now? Is it more of a father-daughter relationship? Is it strictly? I mean, how is that?
Which ones? Because
With
the
Kelly
relationship
and-
is certainly different with Solange and Beyonce.
No, I'm talking about with
Kelly
Kelly.
and
No, I'm
Michelle.
talking with Kelly and Michelle.
No, I don't talk to Michelle with Kelly as much.
Mhm.
And when I talk to any of them, it's more text. I talked to Michelle today just to remind her of a little business she had forgotten about.
Oh,
I had to remind her of that. But you know, I actually talked to Michelle about 3-4 weeks ago.
okay.
You know, they're all doing good. What I love about Michelle and Kelly, what I love about Michelle is, like, she was so smart, man. She realized that she had an
She's a
opportunity.
very humble young lady.
Well,
Very humble.
Very humble.
Very cool.
She comes from. I would not have gotten in a gospel industry. I never. That was never my area. But when I came up with the strategy that each one of them, and I asked them, "What is it that's your passion?" Michelle, as a solo artist, I asked what were their passion. And Michelle's was gospel.
Mm-hmm.
And Donnie Einer and I we sat and I said, Donnie, I can't
Donnie is the former president
President.
of Sony Records.
and a
Sony.
really good friend. I used to say if there was a dark alley and there was 10 people at the end of the alley and I had to pick 2 people, Donnie Anna would have been one of them, because I know he wouldn't have ran. He's that guy, Italian dude. I love Donnie. But we said we couldn't afford for Michelle to lose in the gospel. So I said, okay, so I'll start a gospel label. Donnie gave me the money to start a gospel label. We wanted to ensure that Michelle had #1s, because each one of the girls had #1 solo projects. That's why I was trying to correct Wendy when she blasted Kelly and Michelle. Like, again, going back, take Beyonce and set her over here. You can't compare.
Very successful.
You can't
solo
if you don't
project.
compare the rest of the industry with Beyonce. You can't compare Solange, Michelle, and Kelly with Beyonce. Beyonce sets over there with Michael Jackson. That level of people.
You damn right.
So we can't we wouldn't compare Rihanna to Beyonce or Alicia Keys to Beyonce. Like, we do that.
Different lanes.
Well, there's smart people like Harvard, and there's smart people like Texas Southern.
It's different levels.
That's done white papers.
Oh, Lord.
These things we do in an intellectual smart basis, and we actually research numbers. We're not emotional with numbers. It's an easy thing. You can break down what a single download is. It's called a track equivalent album. TEA or a SEA, a streaming equivalent album. 1,500 streams equal an album. 10 downloads on the same album equal an album. So we can mathematically do this stuff.
Right.
Some people are very smart and we're non-emotional.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, most black people get so emotional that they can't make an intellectual smart decision.
Mm-hmm. Destiny's Child, they get back together, they get our hand rolled.
They're best friends, unlike all the other groups.
What if they called you and said, Mr. Knowles, Dr. Knowles, we gonna do this like it from the beginning?
So when the girls do like say reunion shows and stuff like that, so would that be considered?
You can't use the trademark without the
There
trademark owners.
Okay.
That's like me saying, whatever, like you just said,
Yeah.
Coke or whatever. I can't.
You can't
Unless it's
monetize their trademark without them, approving it.
And once again, that goes back to your business savvy on just what we talked about at the beginning, and something that's being savvy and knowing the ins and outs of this
And
business.
I
Because
tell
there are
you,
a lot of artists, a lot of people that have had their hands in a lot of stuff that don't own shit.
well, I tell you, I'm so proud. Something happened last week that made me so proud that I was just, something I read talked about the Beyhive. And I said, you know what, I'm going to go, and this is public information. A lot of people don't understand. A lot of this stuff is not hard. You just research, you can get the information. I said, I wonder who owns the trademark Beyhive. And I just smiled when I went to the U.S. Trademark Office of who owned the trademark.
Your daughter.
Yeah.
She look
Genius.
She learned from the best.
Look who the
like
fuck she learned
genius.
from, man. It's in the DNA, man.
Genius, man. I just smiled.
So can't nothing happen with no Beyhive, none of that shit without it coming.
I just smiled. I thought it was genius.
I know that was a big.
We gotta talk about this. We gotta talk about this damn book.
Yes.
Grab that book.
Yes.
We gotta talk about this book, man. So people automatically when they hear a book from you, they think it's some music related. But this is not your first book, first of all.
Yeah, the first one was DNA of Achievers, which was gratefully a #1 bestseller. And my goal is to make this a #1 bestseller.
Racism from the eyes of a child.
So are we going live or this tape?
No, this is tape.
Okay. So,
But it'll be a couple weeks. But
okay. Because
yeah.
I know my goal is in this visit here to Atlanta is for this book to go #1.
oh, it is.
It's
go #1.
Last week was #2, and we've had so many #1s at Music World and in my career that #2 angers me. and my staff know I go off ape shit mad because I'd rather be number 60 than number 2.
You just don't want to finish second.
Because number 2 just means we didn't want it bad enough. Somebody wanted it better than we did. And that's a mental thing. We just didn't work. We didn't work hard enough.
This book right here, I did some research on it, and we mentioned off camera, and I'm gonna stop saying it, but you growing up in Alabama during those Jim Crow days, just looking at I know you saw some shit.
Well, I tell a quick 2-minute story or less, and this is how the book opens. I'm 5 years old. My mother, I grew up in Gaston, Alabama, which, by the way, is
2 hours from here.
2 hours from Atlanta.
Yeah.
I used to make that drive.
Right on, yeah.
And I was born in 1952, which makes me 66. And so at age 5, my mother, we used to go down to this country town called Marion, Alabama. Coretta King, my mother.
I was just about to say that's what Coretta Scott King.
Yeah.
And I think
T.D. Jakes.
and Andrew Young, Ambassador Andrew Young, I believe his deceased wife was from.
Yeah. All from Gaston, Marion, Alabama. But it's a country, as we call it.
Yeah,
you know, it's
it definitely is the country.
2,500 people. My grandparents lived on a dirt road, a little tin house, outside bathroom. But we would go in the summers. My brother, he's deceased now, but he was 9 years older than I. And my mother was like oil and water with my grandmother, Hester Hogue. And this night they got into an argument. My mother decided, hey, I'm going to take the kids. We're going to go to the nearest relative, which is a mile up the highway. And so here we go. There's no lights. We got the moon, the stars. We go walk the dirt road. We get to the main country highway. And we began to see these lights in the distance. And then we began to hear these horns. Every time I tell this story, it's as if I'm there. Yeah. And we hear these horns in the distance. My mother's holding both our hands. And the horns got louder. The lights got brighter and closer. And then finally my mother said, hey, we got to get in the woods. So we jump in the woods, in the bushes on the side of the road. And then the cars got closer. And then she got on top of me and started praying. And I started crying. She was like, shh, be quiet. And then she told my brother Jesse, if anything happens, this is a mother's love. If anything happens, take your brother, go up under that barbed wire fence, and you just run in that pasture with the cows. And y'all just keep running, keep running. And so finally the cars passed, and we felt safe. Well, my mother did. And we got out of the woods. And then, you know, on the highway was these flags, you know, the ones you stick on back in the day. And I'm a kid, I'm 5, I don't know. I pick up a few, she spanks my hand. And that's how I started the book out. That was a KKK rally.
Wow.
That was my first experience with racism. So you can only imagine on a night in Marion, Alabama, what would have happened with this mother and her 2 black kids.
Right. And how old were you?
I was 5
You're
years
5.
old. And that's why I titled the book, Racism from the Eyes of a Child. You know, tomorrow...
It just talks about your early days, or does it talk about
even...
Because you lived in Texas, which we know that can...
It talks about, Jerry, you know, I never went to a black school until my junior year of college. Now imagine that. I was born in 1952. I never went to a black school because my mother, being from Marion, she was very active in the civil rights movement in Gaston, Alabama.
Good deal.
So I went to a Catholic elementary school in Gaston, Alabama, if you can believe that, with white nuns. I went to Litchfield, which had about 600 black kids.
Not the culture, but you were in a white school because Brown Board of Education was 54.
54. And
So
then freedom of choice was 56. And part of this is so
you were integrated even that, and
Yeah,
that was
was
talking about
segregated.
late 50s, early
yeah,
60s.
yeah,
That
what
had
I'm
to be
saying.
rough
It was-
on you. I'm
I
sure
was
you
one
experienced
of the
some.
first, and I share that story because a lot of young people and a lot of people, even your ages, don't know what we went through, so that we could sit here today. Or so I got to research.
Gotta get this book. We're gonna make this book #1, but this will be your second #1.
Well,
book.
I
We're gonna make
appreciate
it
the
#1.
support.
And I just want to say we could sit here and talk and talk, brother. Because I enjoy your knowledge, man. And
So much
and
knowledge.
not just that, but I see now, I didn't know as far as how you came up in under the situations growing up in the South doing the Jim Crow, which is nothing but apartheid, and we use Jim Crow as a fancy word for it. And to come and be who you are today, man, I got a whole different respect
Well,
for you.
I talk about the things that people are uncomfortable. I like, as a college professor, I like making people uncomfortable. My job as a professor is to teach critical thinking and to teach people to have a perspective on things. So I talk about racism. The three things I talk about: racism, colorism, and eroticized rage.
Wow,
Eroticized rage is,
that's something that needs to be talked about more.
and that's when
Especially in our community, we have to discuss that.
and I was guilty of this. When I say I'm only gonna date
light-skinned chicks.
women that look as beautiful as Jamie, light complexion, because beauty is everywhere. Matter of fact, when Wendy asked me if my wife was dark skinned or light skinned, I
you
said
deflected
she's
that.
beautiful.
Yeah, I love that shit.
She's
I love
beautiful.
that, bro.
That's what she is, because all shades are beautiful.
Yeah, and we have to break the cycle. I mean,
But it's wrong when I say I'm only going to date white women or I'm only going to date light-skinned women, rather than I'm dating them because I'm romantically involved.
right.
But I'm doing it because I made this decision. And that comes from, I talk in the book, my mother used to say, don't ever bring no nappy-head black girl home.
Wow.
And I
Wow.
internalized that. And we often internalize a lot of things.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that's who we are today when we internalize. So I
And,
talk
in
about
her defense,
that.
I mean, you know, she didn't. I mean, I know you.
And I talk about it.
Yeah,
In her
and her-
defense, that was
yeah.
all the positive. You know, that was one of the things that was internalized by her parents and
Yeah.
their parents. And then I talk about something I say social courage.
Mhm.
You know, I'm big on social courage. What those kids did in Florida, Parkland, that's social courage.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
When you stand
Yes,
up
it is.
and, you know, what Dr. King did was social courage, as we celebrate him. And I just challenge all of you to have social courage to speak up, speak out, and do it quicker and faster.
And my brother,
sooner.
you've done a great job of embedding that in your daughters, man. Because, like I say, I can see it.
And
Things
they
they
both
stand
have
for.
Beyonce and
they
Solange
buck. Yes, they
social-
buck the system.
Oh,
they gonna
yes.
say,
courage.
Yes, they do.
and that's it. That goes
they're
back to
using their
their
voice
upbringing
and-
and home with you and Miss
Yeah.
Tina. And I want to give, like I say, as a parent, I just want to give you props from father to
Thanks,
father, man.
I
Yeah.
appreciate that. you
No, I
saying
appreciate.
that.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, and we appreciate you,
You know,
coming
his
on here.
his
talking about
publicist
it.
his publicist been showing. She been waving about the website. You got to give him the website, bro.
Well, you know, if you want to understand and just keep up with me on anything,
Your social media handles.
well, you can get everything just by going to MathewKnowles.com. We've invested a
One
lot
T.
in that website, MathewKnowles.com. It'll talk about the
Okay.
e-learning. It'll talk about the events where I'm coming up soon. It is a place there if you want to book me as a speaker. It'll show you all my social media. It'll show you I'm on the board, one of the few blacks on the board for Make-A-Wish
Okay.
Foundation. You can donate
Okay.
to Make-A-Wish.
Nice.
I'm
But I can buy a couple of these here
and
while
you
you're
can,
here,
but
right?
you can buy the book online.
You know, okay.
And I will sign and ship it back. Sign your book and ship it back to
I
you.
want this.
Well,
I'm
let's
just-
do
I'm
that,
just-
Jerry.
I'm just-
Yeah, that's a done deal. But
Can you make me a promise? Can I come out to TSU and sit in one of your class? In one of your?
well, this semester I'm taking a sabbatical.
Oh, whenever you
When
come
I
back.
get back next semester, absolutely.
Okay, yeah, I want to come
Absolutely.
out and you know, y'all heard it here. I got one before we get out of here. What's your social media handles? Everything is at Matt.
I let you go there and get all of that.
What have we?
He's saying go to
I'm
Matthew.
on-
Oh,
I'm gonna
okay.
send
See,
you-
my,
I'm gonna
I got
send-
adult ADD, Mr. No.
Yeah.
you know, my ADD kick in, dog.
But you know,
He's
I-
saying
I-
everything is at one
Okay,
spot.
all right, hey,
Yeah,
what's
I-
shit? All right, my bad.
You know, Jerry, and Jamie, when I got into the music industry, what we did was a lot different. I came from corporate America. You know, I told you about my success at Xerox. one of the first blacks in America to ever
In an
sell.
executive.
But no, to ever sell CT and MRI scanners in America. At Xerox, I sold 8 years zero radiography for breast cancer detection. And at that time, it was the leading modality for breast cancer, zero radiography.
Wow.
Then I went to Philips and was a CT MRI specialist. Then I went to Johnson & Johnson and was a neurosurgical specialist. That's my corporate background. It's smart shit.
I see. Shit. You this brother right here.
That's my
Shit.
smart shit.
I got a damn real.
By the way, the easiest job I ever had is the music industry.
Wow. Now that says something.
And
When
dealing with
I'm
the folks.
wait,
Dealing with the folks in this industry make you want to.
Nah, man. When I'm in the only black man in the OR, and I'm
It goes. Look,
talking to the neurosurgeon, and he's
I'm
putting
sure-
his license on the line for what I'm about to tell him, I had better know what the hell I'm talking about.
You damn
Right.
right. Because
So this is the easiest
story
job.
time with Legendary Jerry. But before we get out of here, I gotta ask one question. I gotta ask. It's
Uh-oh.
just because I got 2 daughters, and I know one day somebody gonna come to me. One day their mate, future husband, whatever. How
Jamie,
did?
he's getting real excited. Then.
Isn't it? Yeah, he's getting real excited.
I'm excited to have you. I've been excited.
No, but this question, he's getting
No,
real
Right.
excited.
I'm excited for the question.
I'm just saying, I got daughters. How did Jay-Z ask for your daughter's hand in marriage?
That's a personal question.
Okay. All right, I can take that.
See, the thing about interviewing skills, which I have taught all of my artists, I don't have to answer your question.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no gun that says you got to answer it.
You're right.
A lot of time people think they got because they asked
Just
the
because they,
question.
yeah.
You got to answer it. You can
Because
just
just
say
like-
politely
No.
or deflect like our president, who's really good at it. You know, it's
No,
amazing.
hey, he deflects every damn
Man,
thing, bro.
if a black man could do everything this guy did, man,
This
like,
motherfucker.
wow.
Yeah.
Hey.
Wow.
That's a whole nother
Yeah,
conversation.
we hey, listen, we go.
That's a whole nother
Yeah,
conversation.
but it's not. Let me tell you why.
Hey.
A
we was about to start, but we go ahead.
No. A
Okay.
key part of racism, and I talk about this in the book, Racism to the Eyes of a Child. You notice how I got us back on topic before we leave? I'm really, really good at this, Jerry.
No, I
mean-
hey, can I take your class?
But
Can I go,
but
Matthew?
let me
Matthew,
just-
go ahead. Okay, go ahead,
when I
bro.
look at racism from the eyes of a child, one of the things I talk about is one aspect of racism is to erase all of our accomplishments. Erase them. That's why I'm speaking out. That's a part of racism. Because if I don't know where I come from and I don't know my accomplishment, then I don't have knowledge. And if I don't have knowledge, then I can't have
knowledge
power.
yourself. If you don't have
I can't
knowledge
have
yourself,
power.
there's nowhere
So
you can go.
Knowledge
Do you
is
think-
power.
Do you think it's just coincidental or happenstance?
I just want to say, I dedicate this show to 2 people. My brother, my friend, Mr. Shakir Stewart, and my father, passed in 2016. I miss you, Dad, Mr. Thomas Clark. We are signing off on the Legendary Jerry podcast. That's our social media handles. Miss Jamie Page.
Jamie Page on Instagram.
And on IG, everything, I'm Big Jerry Clark. And please tune in, tune in every Wednesday to the Legendary Jerry podcast. But go on YouTube, subscribe, become a subscriber.
Don't miss a beat.
And this gentleman right here is, as you see, we go sign off, but it's one of my favorite guys ever. As a black father, I look up to this guy straight up. I'm not saying, but do your research and see what this guy really means on the whole.
Google
All right,
can be your best friend.
everything.
Well, I call it Professor Google because you can find all the answers.
Anything.
You don't even have to spell it correct.
There you go.
Jamie Page, Dr. Matthew Knowles, Big Jerry Clark. We are signing off.